Captain Lee Hyun walked slowly through the metal corridors of the space station. His boots made soft clicking sounds on the floor as he moved toward the main control room. The station was called Prometheus 7th, and it floated far out in space, beyond the last planet in their solar system. Lee had been working here for 12 years, watching and listening for signals from outer space. The station was quiet most of the time. Lee and his small team spent their days checking equipment and listening to the empty sounds of space. The government told people that stations like this one were for science, but Lee knew the real truth. They were watching for danger. They were waiting for aliens who might want to hurt Earth. Lee stopped at a large window and looked out into the black space. Millions of stars twinkled in the distance, but space felt cold and lonely. He had seen many strange things during his years here, but nothing had prepared him for what was about to happen. "Captain Lee," called a voice from behind him. Lee turned around and saw Park Sumi running toward him. She was young and smart, and she worked with all the communication equipment on the station. Her face looked worried and excited at the same time. "What is wrong, Sumi?" Lee asked. "Sir, we are getting a signal. It is coming through the old emergency channels, the ones we never use anymore," Sumi said, breathing hard from running. Lee felt his heart beat faster. In all his years at the station, they had never received an emergency signal from space. He followed Sumi quickly to the control room where all the computers and radios were kept. Kim Dae was already there, working at his computer. He was the best navigator on the station and could find anything in space. His fingers moved quickly over the keyboard as numbers and pictures flashed on his screen. "Play the signal," Lee said. Sumi pressed some buttons, and suddenly the room filled with a strange crackling sound. Then they heard a voice. It was weak and full of pain, and it definitely was not human. "We tried to warn you," the voice said in broken English. "They are coming. Humanity. Wake up your guardians." The three people in the room looked at each other with wide eyes. Lee felt cold fear run down his back. The voice spoke again, but this time it was even weaker. "The Devourers approach, ancient destroyers of worlds. We fought them. We failed. But you have something we did not know about, something sleeping." Then the signal became very weak, and they could barely hear the alien voice. "Hidden beneath your world, in the deep places. Your ancestors left them for you. Wake them. Wake them before it is too late." The signal stopped, and the room became very quiet. Lee, Sumi, and Kim stood there, not knowing what to say. Finally, Lee spoke. "Kim, can you find where this signal came from?" Kim nodded and worked at his computer for several minutes. "Yes, Captain. There is a ship drifting about 50 kilometers from here. It is very damaged." Lee made a decision quickly. "Get the rescue shuttle ready. We need to go to that ship." 1 hour later, Lee and his team were floating in space near the alien ship. The ship was small and looked very old. Its metal surface was covered with holes, and Lee could see that air was leaking out of it into space. They put on their spacesuits and entered the alien ship through a hole in its side. Inside, everything was dark except for a few blinking lights. The ship smelled strange, like flowers mixed with metal. They found the alien in what looked like the control room of the ship. It was lying on the floor, not moving much. The creature was beautiful in a strange way. Its skin looked like it was made of crystal and gave off a soft blue light, but the light was getting weaker. "Help," the alien whispered when it saw them. "I am Karani. My people watched your world for many years. We learned your languages. We tried to understand you." Lee knelt down next to the dying creature. "What are the Devourers? What is coming? To Earth?" The Karani's crystal-like eyes looked directly at Lee. "Ancient machines. They travel from star to star, eating entire worlds. They destroyed my people. They destroyed many peoples. But your world is different." The alien reached into a pocket with a shaking hand and pulled out a small, round device. It glowed with the same blue light as the creature's skin. "Your ancestors knew this day would come. Long ago, before your people forgot who they really were, they built guardians, great beings that sleep in the deep places of your world, waiting. The Karani pressed the device into Lee's hand. It felt warm and seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. The coordinates are in there. Find the sleeping places. Wake the Guardians. Only they can stop what is coming. The blue light in the alien's skin grew very dim. Tell your people, the Devourers will be here soon. Maybe days, maybe weeks. But they are coming, and when they arrive, they will try to eat your entire world. The Karani closed its crystal eyes and stopped breathing. Lee looked down at the device in his hand. It was smooth and warm, and he could feel it humming with some kind of energy. Back on the station, Kim connected the alien device to their computers. Slowly, pictures and numbers appeared on the screen. They showed places on Earth: deep ocean trenches, ice-covered mountains, hot deserts, and thick forests. These locations, Kim said, staring at the screen. They are all in the most remote places on Earth, places where no one goes. Lee looked at the coordinates and felt that everything was about to change. Somewhere far below Earth's surface, ancient guardians were sleeping, waiting for humanity's call. Dr. Yoon Mina sat inside the small submarine as it moved deeper and deeper into the ocean. The water outside was so dark that their lights could only show a few meters ahead. She was going to the deepest part of the ocean, a place called the Mariana Trench where no human had ever gone before. The alien device that Captain Lee had found gave them coordinates to this exact spot. Mina was a scientist who studied the ocean, but she had never expected to find anything like what the coordinates promised. Dr. Yoon, said Oh Shung, the submarine pilot, look at the sonar screen. There is something very big down here. Mina looked at the green screen that showed what was around them. Instead of the empty ocean floor she expected, there were huge shapes that looked like buildings or machines. That is impossible, Mina whispered. Nothing that big should be down here. As they got closer, their submarine lights began to show walls made of some kind of metal. But this metal was different from anything Mina had ever seen. It seemed to be alive with a soft blue glow that pulsed like a heartbeat. Oh, Shung, take us closer to that wall, Mina said. When they got near the strange metal wall, something amazing happened. Parts of the wall began to open like a door, even though no one had pressed any buttons or sent any signals. It knows we are here, Oh Shung said, his voice full of fear and wonder. At the same time, thousands of kilometers away, another team was making their own discovery. Bei Jun was an archaeologist who studied old civilizations. He was standing in a tunnel deep under the ice in Antarctica, holding a powerful flashlight. The alien coordinates had led his team to dig through the ice until they found these tunnels. The walls were covered with strange symbols that seemed to move and change when he looked at them directly. Team leader called one of his workers from deeper in the tunnel. You need to see this. Bei Jun walked through the ice tunnel until he reached a large room. The walls, floor, and ceiling were all covered with the moving symbols. In the center of the room was a flat surface that looked like a table made of the same living metal that Dr. Mina had found in the ocean. What do you think these symbols mean? Asked his assistant, Kim Young. Bei Jun studied the symbols carefully. They were not like any ancient writing he had ever seen. They seemed to be some kind of interface like the buttons on a computer, but much more advanced. I think, Bei Jun said slowly, these are not meant to be read. I think they are meant to be touched. Before Kim Young could stop him, Bei Jun placed his bare hand on the flat surface in the center of the room. Immediately, the entire underground facility came alive. Lights raced through the tunnels like lightning, and a deep humming sound began to vibrate through the ice. The symbols on the walls glowed brighter and began moving faster. Back in the ocean, Dr. Mina watched as the submarine was gently pulled inside the underwater structure through the opening that had appeared in the wall. She was not afraid because somehow she knew they were safe. Inside the structure, the submarine floated in a large chamber filled with breathable air instead of water. Mina and Oh Shung left their submarine and walked on solid ground for the first time in hours. The chamber was enormous, with walls that curved up and disappeared into darkness above them. But what made them both gasp in amazement were the sleeping giants. In the center of the chamber, huge forms lay resting. They were the size of buildings, but they were clearly alive. Their bodies seemed to be part machine and part living creature, with metal skin that breathed and pulsed with that same blue light. "What are they?" Oh Shung whispered. As if it heard his question, one of the sleeping giants began to stir. Its massive head turned toward them and eyes that burned like stars opened for the first time in millions of years. Dr. Mina felt something touch her mind, not with hands, but with thoughts. The giant was speaking to her without using words. "We have been waiting," the voice said inside her head. "Waiting for our children to call us home." "Children?" Mina asked out loud. "You are human," the giant said. "We are human too. We are what your people were long ago before you chose to forget." Mina felt confused. "I don't understand. You look so different from us." The giant's thoughts became clearer in her mind. "Long ago, your ancestors reached great heights. They could do things with their minds and bodies that you have forgotten how to do. But they saw a great danger coming from the stars. So they built us, their guardians, and then they chose to become simpler." "Why would they choose to become simpler?" Oshung asked. "Because," the giant explained, "the enemy that was coming looked for advanced civilizations to destroy. Your ancestors hid by becoming primitive, but they left us here to protect you when the time came." In Antarctica, Beijun was having a similar experience. The ice facility had fully awakened and he found himself standing before another sleeping giant. This one was different from the ocean giant. It looked more like a mountain made of living stone and metal. "The time of sleeping is over," this giant told Beijun through thoughts. "The devourers approach, just as we knew they would. We must prepare." Around the world, the same thing was happening. In the Sahara Desert, a team of explorers watched as sand dunes moved aside to reveal more guardians. In the Amazon rainforest, trees parted to show ancient structures where more giants slept. Each guardian was different, but they all shared the same message. They were humanity's protectors, created by advanced human ancestors who had seen the future and prepared for this day. Dr. Mina looked up at the ocean guardian and asked the question that frightened her most. "How long do we have before the devourers arrive?" The giant's star-like eyes grew dimmer with worry. "Not long, child of our children. Not long at all. We must wake the others quickly and you must help us remember how to fight. We have been sleeping so long that we need human hearts and minds to make us strong again." Commander Kang Wu stood in the middle of a large room filled with computers and screens. The room was in Seoul, and it had been built very quickly after. The sleeping giant started waking up. People from all over the world were calling and sending messages about strange things happening in their countries. "Sir," said his assistant, running up to him with a tablet computer. "We have reports coming in from every continent. The giants are awake in 12 different locations now." Kang Wu looked at the tablet screen. It showed a map of the world with red dots marking where the guardians had been found. Ocean trenches, mountain ranges, deserts, and forests all had red dots on them. Dr. Han Sol walked over to them. She was a scientist who studied living things, and she had been working day and night to understand what the giants really were. "Commander," she said, looking very tired but excited, "I have the test results from the giant specimens. You need to see this." She led him to a computer that showed pictures of tiny cells and DNA patterns. "The giants are not aliens. They are human, but they are human in a way that we have never seen before." Kang Wu frowned. "What do you mean?" "Their DNA is like ours, but it has been changed and improved in ways that seem impossible. It is like someone took human DNA and made it perfect, then combined it with advanced technology." At that same moment, far away in Japan, fighter pilot Annari was standing in front of a giant that had emerged from beneath Mount Fuji. This giant was different from the others. It was tall and sleek, with wings that seemed to be made of liquid metal. "Are you afraid?" the giant asked her through thoughts. Nari looked up at the creature that was 10 times taller than her. "Yes," she said honestly, "but I am more afraid of doing nothing while Earth is in danger." "Good," the giant said. "Fear keeps you alive. I am called Skyrender. I was built to fight in the great emptiness between stars, but I cannot fight alone." "What do you mean?" Nari asked. Skyrender lowered its massive head until it was close to Nari. We Guardians have great power, but we have been sleeping for so long that we have forgotten how to use it. We need human partners. We need your emotions, your determination, your love for your world. You want me to be your partner? I want you to be more than my partner. I want you to become part of me, and I will become part of you. Together, we will be stronger than either of us could be alone. Nari felt scared, but she also felt excited. What do I have to do? Place your hand on my chest and open your mind to me. But be warned, many humans cannot handle the connection. Some have tried and their minds were damaged. In another part of the world, engineer Lim Huan was having a similar conversation with a different guardian. This giant looked like it was made of rock and earth with crystals growing from its shoulders and arms. I am Earthshaper, the giant told him. I can move mountains and change the very ground beneath our feet, but I need a human mind to guide me. Huan was scared, but he thought about his wife and children at home. If the Devourers came to Earth, his family would be in danger. He had to try to help. What happens if I cannot handle the connection? Huan asked. Then you will die, Earthshaper said simply. But if you can handle it, you will become more than human. You will see the world in ways you never imagined. Back in Seoul, Commander Kang Woo was getting reports about humans trying to connect with the Guardians all over the world. Sir, said a communications officer, we have lost contact with 6 volunteers in the past hour, but 3 others have successfully bonded with their Guardians. What does that mean exactly? Kang Woo asked. Dr. Han Sol looked up from her computer. It means that some humans can mentally connect with the Guardians and control them, but the process is very dangerous. More than half of the people who try it do not survive. On Mount Fuji, Nari placed her hand on Skyrender's chest. Immediately, she felt like her mind was being pulled into a vast ocean of thoughts and memories. She saw images of space battles that had happened millions of years ago. She felt the loneliness of sleeping for countless years. She experienced the desperate hope of ancient humans who had built these Guardians. The connection was overwhelming. Nari felt like her mind was going to break apart from all the new information flooding into it. But then she thought about Earth, about her friends, about all the people she wanted to protect. That love and determination gave her strength. Suddenly, she was not just Nari anymore. She was also Skyrender. She could feel the Guardian's powerful body as if it were her own. She could understand its advanced technology as easily as breathing. We are one now, Skyrender's voice said. But now it also sounded like her own voice. The same thing was happening with Huan and Earthshaper. The connection was painful and frightening, but Huan's love for his family kept him strong. When the bonding was complete, he could feel every grain of sand and every rock for hundreds of full kilometers around him. Around the world, more humans were attempting to bond with Guardians. Many failed and died, but those who succeeded became something new. Still human, but expanded beyond what humans had ever been before. The most surprising thing was what happened to people who were not even trying to bond with Guardians. Children in schools began moving pencils with their minds. Artists found they could create pictures that glowed with their own light. Scientists solved problems by somehow knowing answers they had never learned. Commander, Dr. Han Sol said with wonder in her voice, I think the Guardians are not just waking up. They are waking up something in all of humanity, something that has been sleeping in our DNA for millions of years. Kang Woo looked at the reports coming in from around the world. Humans everywhere were developing abilities they had never had before. And in space, getting closer every day, the Devourer fleet continued its approach toward Earth. The bonding process revealed humanity's hidden depths. Across the globe, Guardian-human pairs formed connections that transcended anything previously. Nari and Skyrender became a perfect fusion of human determination and cosmic power. During training exercises, they could transform from humanoid form to a fleet of adaptive spacecraft, each one responding to Nari's tactical instincts, enhanced by millennia of Guardian wisdom. I can see everything, Nari reported during her first deep space patrol. Not just with my eyes, but with understanding. The Guardian's knowledge flows through me, but it needs my emotions, my connections to Earth, to truly function. Juan and Earthshaper worked to fortify the planet itself. Through their bond, continents shifted slightly to create natural defensive positions, while deep beneath the Earth's surface, new materials were forged that could withstand weapons capable of cracking planets. But the cost was significant. Bonds required humans to confront their deepest fears and greatest loves. Some volunteers discovered they weren't emotionally prepared for the connection and had to be separated from their guardians before the link destroyed their minds. Dr. Shin A, a psychiatrist working with bonding candidates, observed, "The guardians don't just want to protect Earth. They need to understand what makes it worth protecting. They feed on human passion, love, and the fierce determination to defend what we cherish." As the Devourer fleet approached the outer solar system, humanity's preparations reached their climax. The ancient monitoring stations revealed their true purpose as coordination centers, linking guardians across impossible distances and allowing for synchronized defense strategies. Children around the world began displaying psychic abilities simply from proximity to active guardians. Artists found they could create protective barriers through pure will, and scientists solved complex problems by tapping into the awakening collective human consciousness. The Devourer fleet emerged from hyperspace like a plague of mechanical locusts, thousands of ships, each one a fusion of countless consumed civilizations. They had never encountered resistance that could match their combined technological might. The battle began at the solar system's edge, where Nari and Skyrender led humanity's first line of defense. Their guardian form shifted and adapted to each threat, creating new weapons configurations in real time as Nari's tactical genius merged with ancient combat experience. "They're not just machines," Nari transmitted to Earth as she engaged the enemy vanguard. "They're the accumulated knowledge of every species they've consumed, but they don't understand what they're missing." Juan and Earthshaper turned the asteroid belt into a weapon, hurling massive rocks accelerated to relativistic speeds while creating defensive barriers around Earth's most vulnerable populations. But the true surprise came when humans around the world began awakening abilities simply by witnessing their bonded defenders' courage. In Seoul, children in emergency shelters began moving debris with their minds to help rescue workers. In New York, artists created energy shields around hospitals through pure willpower. In Lagos, scientists solved defensive calculations by accessing collective human consciousness. The Devourers had consumed thousands of species, but they had never encountered one that grew stronger through connection and sacrifice. During the Id-Nicea climactic battle, as the Devourer flagship prepared to consume Earth itself, humanity made a choice that surprised even the Guardians. Instead of destroying the ancient machines, the bonded humans offered them something they had never experienced: redemption and the chance to create, rather than consume. "You've taken so much," Nari broadcast to the Devourer collective as Skyrender held their flagship in a containment field. "But you've never learned to give. We offer you partnership instead of destruction, the chance to rebuild what you've taken." The Devourers, faced with an offer of hope instead of annihilation, began the slow process of transformation. Some chose to join humanity's cause, while others departed to begin the impossible task of rebuilding the civilizations they had destroyed. Earth emerged from the conflict, not just saved, but transformed. The Guardians remained active, no longer sleeping giants but living partners in humanity's evolution. The monitoring stations became beacons of hope, broadcasting not distress calls but invitations to species across the galaxy seeking connection and growth. Captain Lee Hyun, now serving as humanity's first ambassador to awakened consciousness, stood once again on the observation deck of Prometheus 7th. But now, instead of watching for threats, he watched as ships from dozens of species approached Earth, drawn by humanity's signal of awakening and the promise that no one had to face the darkness alone. The SOS that had started everything had become humanity's new purpose, not a cry for help, but a call to the universe that the Guardians of Hope were finally awake and they were ready to help others find their own sleeping giants.